Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Buenos días a nuestras visitas a Malasia and bienvenido. So, today's session will be on agricultural and halal trade, exploring opportunities and partnerships. As you know, we are, as the world navigates in an era of dynamic economic shifts, this particular session will delve deep into the intricacies of international trade, examining the potential avenues for growth, collaboration, and sustainable development in the sector of agriculture and the halal industry. So we'll have a conversation that will extend to successful global collaborations and the impact of trade policies, providing a comprehensive understanding of the opportunities and challenges inherent in these critical sectors. So we have with us our esteemed panelists from Peru, from Argentina, and from Malaysia, from the HDC. So without further ado, because we have a tight timeline, I would like to introduce first Mr. Eric Aponte, who is a Trade Commissioner for ASEAN, based in Bangkok, of the Peru Export and Tourism Promotion Board from Peru. So he will be giving a presentation for about 7 minutes, and then we will go with Mr. Alejandro Nervegna, who is the Director of Goods Export Promotion of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade and Worship from Argentina, for another 7 minutes. Then lastly with Mr. Mohamad Romzi Sulaiman, which is Senior Manager of Halal Development Corporation, HDC. So without further ado, Senor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you everyone for coming. So Peru, halal, the Malaysian market, we as representatives of Peru understand that we stand at the precipice of an enormous opportunity. In the case of halal, it is worldwide. And in the case of Malaysia, it's a critical market within the ASEAN region that we have yet to penetrate. So to be honest with you, we've largely left it unattended. For some good reasons, but unattended nonetheless. But I sit here now before you, together with my Vice Minister, together with our embassy representatives, because we have a plan to now attend the Malaysian market and begin to penetrate the halal market as well. As you'll see in my presentation today, we have a lot of products that are actually very halal friendly, and a lot of products that you may have already had that you probably didn't even realize were coming from Peru. Next slide, please. But before I start, I'd like to give you an idea of what we do at From Peru. We promote Peruvian exports to the world, and we promote tourism and FDI from the world to Peru. Our concentration is on products that are non-mining and energy sector, of course. We have over 30 offices worldwide. I've opened up almost 10 of them, or 10% of them myself. I opened our Miami office 13 years ago. I opened up our Hong Kong office back in 2018. And I opened up our Bangkok office 2 years ago. And next slide, please. That Bangkok office is to attend the ASEAN market. Why did we create a market specifically for the ASEAN market? Well, obviously, the obvious answer for any country is diversification of markets. You want to diversify where you're exporting your goods. It's critical. But there's a secondary reason why, it probably equally as important, as to why we opened up this office in Bangkok. Next slide, please. And that's access to these markets. Our trade agreements have allowed us access to the ASEAN region, and that's why it's important for us to have a presence here. Of importance here, you see, is that we're obviously, like my Vice Minister mentioned, we're going to be host of APEC. We're very proud of that. Also, we have an early harvest agreement with Thailand. What does that mean? It's not a full trade agreement. It's an agreement that covers roughly 70% of our exportable products, but we are planning to close a full bilateral free trade agreement with Thailand soon. Don't have a date yet, but it's going to be soon. And obviously, partnering with Malaysia, we're working together in the CPTPP. Next slide, please. This has allowed us to grow within the region. And grown we have. And if you look at these numbers here, again, concentrating on the non-mining sector, we'll concentrate on the fruits and vegetables and fisheries sectors. Why? Because, next slide please, those are the highest potential sectors we have in this region. Those two together have a combined average growth rate of over 30% for the last 3 years combined. Just the agro, fruits and vegetables basically, also our grains, and our fisheries sectors too. Next slide please. So going into a little bit of detail, the agro products and the fisheries products that I will say are our star products that are arriving to different ASEAN markets. You'll see here the blueberries and grapes and asparagus, of which my vice minister told you earlier. We're the worldwide leader in exports of these products, and we're proud of that. Avocados and cacao beans, we're amongst the worldwide leaders and exporters of these products. The fisheries sector, I'm actually not going to get into much detail about that this year, or in this presentation, because it has different characteristics that we'll talk about later, but you can see which of our products are the star products that are entering the market here. Next slide, please. Concentrating specifically on the agro, so non-fishery sector. As you can see here, we have a large proportion of our products coming as cacao beans. Now, to give you an idea, the data that you see here, that growth rate that you see here, that 35%, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the cacao beans market, but the price has skyrocketed this year. I mean, it's practically gold. So, but this data that you see here does not take that into account. We've been growing our cacao beans exports to the ASEAN region for several years now. It's been growing at over an average growth rate of about 20% per year. Then after that, like I said, we're the worldwide leaders and exporters of table grapes and blueberries, and our coffee beans we expect to grow quite well in the coming months. Next slide, please. Now let's look specifically at Malaysia, since we're here. You would think we'd be very satisfied and happy with this particular slide. I mean, look at that growth rate, over 200%. Again, that's not a factor of the increased price of cacao beans, because that's not factored into this. But you see a large concentration in terms of what product is dominating our exports to Malaysia. Also look at the number of products and the number of exporters. And why is this important? Because earlier, I first started out this presentation letting you know that we've largely left the market unattended, and you will see why I said that in this next slide. Look at Thailand. Double the products, double the exporters, a much more balanced volume between our products, table grapes, blueberries, avocados. We have about 70% of the entire blueberry market in Thailand, which demonstrates that we are competitive in ASEAN markets, even though we are exporting our products from literally the other side of the world. We can compete. Competing is not the problem. And again, next slide, please. You have a similar story in Singapore, only with volumes that are more appropriate, we'll say, for a city-state and not countries that have populations of 70 to 100 million people. Next slide, please. This is the only slide that I'm really going to talk about in reference to the fishing industry. This is our star products that are arriving to the ASEAN markets. Bota, which is our giant squid, is by far our biggest. So you may have gone to restaurants, had calamari. It may very well have been our calamari if you didn't know it. We're going to skip the next 3 slides. Skip. Okay. What Peruvian products can you get? Basically what this is a list of some of the major markets in the ASEAN region. What products currently already have phytosanitary access? So what products can an exporter send and an importer bring from Peru to these particular markets? I'll concentrate on Malaysia since we're here. As my vice minister said, we recently were granted access to our avocados and our pomegranates. We're extremely happy with that. Now we just have to find the partners that we need in order to promote these products. So you can see again, access was not our issue in Malaysia. Our issue has been lack of presence. And you'll see later on in this presentation how we plan on attacking that. Next slide, please. Where can you find our products? We partner up with pretty much every major retailer in the ASEAN region, sans Malaysia. So we've done promotions at almost all of these that you can see here, in several markets within the ASEAN region. One of the misconceptions, if you will, when we first reach out to a retailer, even when we're with an importer, we say, hey, we want to do a promotion for our products in your supermarket. Their knee-jerk reaction is, we don't have enough SKUs from Peru. But they don't realize that I've already done my research. And I asked them, can I go there and do a tour of your supermarket with you? And we do a walkthrough, and lo and behold, they thought they had 3 or 4 SKUs, turns out they had 15 to 20. They had no idea those products were coming from Peru. So that's some of the education we also need to provide to the market. Next slide, please. Now, halal, since obviously this panel is about halal. Again, we realize this is a critically important issue. We have most of the products that I've been talking about today, the fruits, the vegetables, our grains, quinoa, chia, these are halal-friendly products. These are products that we can get certified. And in fact, we do, in some cases, have certifications. We're going to be back here with a group of exporters in May doing a trade mission, and several of those exporters are halal certified with a certification approved for Malaysia. But we understand we have work to do, which is why we're making the right partnerships. We're in the process now, it's still early, but we're in the process of working out an agreement to have some mutual benefit, if you will, of getting more of our products certified. So we can have access to the halal market worldwide, and we can penetrate the Malaysian market with a product that's not traditional. Together with this increased presence that we would have once we go through this process, we will go into, next slide please, our promotional activities. Promotional activities, if you, on the face value, it's very obvious why any country would want to do it. You want to help sell your product. Even private companies do this. It's marketing. It's basic. But when it's coming from an organization like ours, there is a little more to it that most people tend to overlook. And I'm going to use Thailand as an example because we've done promotions there. When we partner with companies in Thailand, a retailer, and usually it's a third party that you would partner with to do a promotion within a supermarket, those tend to be SMEs. Not the retailer, but the third party. Those SMEs are Thai-owned with Thai employees. The retailer is Thai-owned with Thai employees. So what happens? We do these investments basically in Peruvian capital with the Thai SME, and ultimately they grow. Literally, we've worked with SMEs that have added employees because of the promotions we're doing. What happens in the retailer? They start selling more product. They sell more product, they ultimately will hopefully open up new stores. They open up new stores, that's more employment. So there's a local benefit to the economy for what we do as well, and that's often overlooked. Next, please. To give you an example of some of the promotions we've done in Vietnam, we had a brick and mortar and a e-commerce promotion particularly with our grapes in Vietnam. A lot of our grapes are right in there, they're doing pretty well. We did it on on Chop, and Big C and Aeon. Next slide, please. Singapore, something very similar with Fair Price and Red Mart. In this case, it was a lot more products. We had blueberries, we had our grains included in there. We had about 15, 16 different products included in these promotions. Next slide, please. And obviously, we also do trade fairs, FHA in Singapore. TIFEX we've done for 3-4 years now in a row. It's gone well for us. If any of you are planning to go, please let us know. We can set you up with business meetings with our exporters. But it's kind of boring just to show you still pictures, because unless you've gone there and seen it yourself, you don't really get a feel for what we do. So I do have a video that I'd like to play for you, if you guys can load that up, please.
Circles Peru to Malaysia.
Thank you. That was my team in Bangkok. So we've obviously had a lot of positive experience in 2 short years. And we're hoping to replicate that here in Malaysia, both with halal certified products and with non-halal certified products. We just need to find the right partners to be able to do this. So hopefully we'll be able to do that soon. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. For the next presentation, we'll have from Mr. Alejandro Nervegna, Director of Goods Export Promotion of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Argentina.
This is my second time in Malaysia. My first time was 15 years ago during my honeymoon. So I have very good memory from that time, to be honest. Unfortunately, my wife was not able to come with me this time. She wanted to, but we have 3 children at home. So hopefully next year we can come back. So thank you very much for the invitation. Yeah.
This is product of Malaysia, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I was asked to talk about specific measures that can be implemented to overcome obstacles, barriers, and facilitate the growth of the halal trade on a global scale. And from the Argentina point of view, the first obstacle that we see that we think it must be broken down is the lack of information and knowledge. And that particular lack of knowledge occurs, I believe, in 2 levels. The first one is the private sector, the level of the companies. And the second one is the state and provinces governments that are also involved in the export process with their own export agencies. As you may know, Argentina is a country where small and medium companies represent the majority. Much of these companies are family-owned and run, which means that they don't have access to the world trend consumer demand informations or other relevant data regarding the halal market worldwide. So this is one step that we need to take, is to resolve the problem that we have that bring the information to the companies. That lead us to, in my opinion, to the second obstacle that we must overcome, and that requires the active involvement of authorities in the Asian countries. I'm referring to the halal certification process. That we see from our point of view is each country has its own certification centers. That means in many cases that each company has to apply for multiple certifications in order to get the approval. Then the certification process may take several months, and sometimes, depending the product that needs to be certified, it might also turn to be an expensive process. So time and cost, in particular for small and medium companies. These are the 2 main barriers that we see. Lack of information and knowledge, and the difficulties in the halal certification process. But what can we do to overcome this? Well, we have some suggestions to do. To solve the first obstacle, all parties involved must carry out educational programs. And we think we must bring up halal awareness, more halal awareness, in particular in the case of Argentina. What we are trying to do from our department, this year we are going to hold a seminar in Argentina on halal, the opportunities that offer the halal global markets. We are also having a group of people working specifically for halal products. This is something new, even for us. So we have a special team based on Buenos Aires that we will work with the companies to see halal opportunities. And we are also working in producing more reports about halal and offering those reports to the companies. But we think that also halal authorities in each country should provide additional information to non-Muslim consumers to talk about the advantage of consumption of halal products. And this is something that can be done with one of my friends here of the Halal Development Corporations, probably through the marketing campaigns. And then to solve the second obstacle, we must work together making the approval of each country's certifying agency easier and faster for our companies. And we think that much of the physical inspection could be replaced by online meetings, for example. And it could be also important to join efforts in order to create an international body of halal requirements, we think, in order to ensure consistency and harmonization. Probably one thing we would like to request is to explore an agreement between Malaysia and Indonesia that would facilitate mutual recognitions agreement in order to avoid duplicate certifications. And I think we can address this with the Organization of the Islamic Corporations. I saw that the website is in French and English, also should be in Spanish. Then we also suggest that deepen the collaboration between the halal authorities and other agencies in the government is also relevant. For example, the Department of Islamic Development of Malaysia with the Department of Veterinary Services. They should be working closer, because we believe that establishing transparent and efficient halal certification process is a key. Also, they should be offering training courses to certify agencies and interested foreign establishments. One last recommendation we have that we see is very important is posting specific attaches in the most important embassies to covered regions. To sum up this question, I believe that if we work together to produce more halal awareness among all actors involved in the industry, and then we also work to reduce time and cost to facilitate the certification process, I'm confident that we can assist the growth of halal trade on a global scale. And as a result, companies will expand their products portfolios by introducing new halal certificates items.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alejandro. It just goes to show the awareness in Argentina is growing, and I think this is a very positive prospect for Latin America. As you know, the population, I was just having a chat with the panelists before this, the population, the Muslim population of ASEAN is about 42% of ASEAN. So it is a significant market, and of course for the total world population is about 24 to 25% of the world population. So the prospect is immense, and it's of course it's the responsibility of the authorities, the promotional agencies, especially HDC, to really create this awareness and make sure that we don't miss this boat in terms of the opportunity that we have. Regarding certification bodies, I think for Argentina, there's the Islamic Center of Argentine Republic, right?
Yes, it's one of them.
Yes. For Peru, we don't have, but of course, we will. It's probably best to work with a CD of a neighboring country. I think that's a possibility at the current moment. Well, without further ado, we will have Mr. Mohamad Romzi, the senior manager for HDC, to give his presentation.
Thank you very much. My apology, I have to put my mask on today. Okay, but I'm okay, just that precautions. Yeah. All right. Thank you to International Strategy Institute for inviting HTC to this forum. And I believe through the engagement that HTC has done so far, Latin America is also close to our heart. Yeah? Because like last year we have Mercosur. Delegates came to Malaysia. There was some engagement which is actually organized by Madrid. So we will be invited, and we met, and we do explain. But I think when it comes to halal, it does not limited to F&B, food and beverages. Because normally people will think about Islamic perspective when it comes to halal. It's about what you eat, what you drink. But it goes beyond than that actually. In fact, last year when the Microsoft delegate came to Malaysia, we talked about pharmaceutical sector. Okay, I think that is also in demand. But again, the other sectors that we really need to look into is ingredient. Okay, I believe, I think everyone aware that ingredient in any part of the F&B or any part of the even personal care and cosmetics, that's also emerging. Ingredients are there. Okay, ingredients can be come from anything, plants, for example. And I think Malaysia or other countries also, there's still a dependency on whether the ingredient is locally or imported. And I believe many countries, in fact, like for example, like the Latin America, you may have something which is in needs of the ingredients for the production of food and products. For example, even personal care. And again, in the halal industry, there is something emerging which is tourism. Okay, and I believe in Latin America you have many things to offer when it comes to tourism. So, but how do you take advantage of this tourism sector in promoting your individual countries to promote tourists from the Muslim country, for example? And if you look at the Asia part, many countries from the Asia part has looked into the tourism sector. Why? Because they felt that this is something economical contributions. And of course, when you talk about halal, it comes from the religious perspective, but we also look into the economic contribution. We believe that when it comes to halal also, it's not only meant for Muslim consumption. Okay, it's actually being enjoyed by everybody. If you go to Malaysian retailers, by default, you pick up something, it's been certified halal because it goes beyond that the Islamic requirement. It goes into the GMP, for example, the safety, the security. But of course, like what mentioned earlier about the awareness, this is something that it has to keep on going. Even in Malaysia, so we never stop doing awareness because we have to keep informing the community what's the benefit behind halal certification. Halal, when a chicken is slaughtered, for example, is considered halal. But if you want to get it certified, it has to go through another process. That's why the certification comes in. Even like plants, okay, fruits, it's consumable without getting the certification. But if you process it, then that's where the halal comes in. The halal certification. So it looks into the safety, the security, the hygienic, everything looks into it. So when consumer enjoy the product, yes, this is something safe for them to consume. Again, we want to avoid from the Islamic phobia. When it comes to halal, people think about Islamic. No, please. This is something that awareness to inform the community, the industry players, even the academician, because they are the ones who produce talent. You need talent in halal. Why? Because if you do not have talent, how are you going to sustain the whole process? Because it's not something that overnight. You have to learn, you have to understand the principle, you have to understand the process. Even like myself also, I attended the courses. I have to go to the industry, and sometimes I look at it as, oh, even if the lid does not have a handle, that's hazardous. That's considered part of this certification process. Okay, so again, this is something that awareness has to keep on going, even in Malaysia. But again, I actually take down some of your comments and your feedback also just now. And again, this can be summarized in terms of whatever that we have in the certification. Of course, it's under the certification bodies, which is in Malaysia is JAKIM. But for HCC, we look into the developmental side. Of course, we offer some of the services like consultancy. And I believe, as what I mentioned earlier, we have a very close heart to our Latin American embassies here in Malaysia. We have met many of them, and actually there are some interest in terms of how we can work together between Malaysia and also the Latin American countries. I think I cut that for now so that we can have more time on the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Romzi. So, just a bit of explanation. I just want to amplify what Mr. Romzi has said. there's a huge misconception of halal that it's just about pork and alcohol. But you put all these two aside, it's literally just hygiene and health. As what Mr. Romzi said, a lot of the requirements are really just to make sure that the food that you are consuming is healthy and it will not cause harm to you. So it really is, in a way, aligned to many of the practices like GMP, HACCP, and MST and all these things. So once you have the processes for halal, the other the other certification is very, very easy to work on. So we in a way we have to train ourselves to think along those lines, and of course the authorities as well need to also understand the industry intricacies as well, and this is where we work together to make sure there's some streamlining of both certification and industry requirements. Now talking about we've been talking a lot about the opportunities on halal. Perhaps we can go maybe a notch down to talk about what do you think would be the challenges, the existing challenges that you face in your respective countries in terms of halal companies, let's say food companies, in order for them to venture into this new space. What would be the challenges that you see specifically in your countries?
More than anything, it's lack of awareness. A lot of the markets that prioritize the halal certifications are markets that we are still beginning just now to penetrate. So it's a matter of educating the exporters. A lot of our exporters also are SMEs. And in the case of SMEs, you have a different set of issues where they have less employees, they have less access to financial resources that could make it a little more difficult to create new processes for them. So in reality, it's just a matter of educating them and helping them, taking them by the hand, helping them through the process, which is entirely doable, but it is a job that needs to be done.
The key word here is awareness, as you said, because obviously resources, if there could be also government assistance in terms of getting them up to speed in terms of the processes for halal as well, right? I just want to also ask you a question about, because you mentioned just now about certain retail chains that you have worked with, like 7E, Lotus and all this. This will be in the Bangkok context, am I right?
Yeah, Bangkok, Singapore, Vietnam, those are the primary markets that we have.
Right, but you say sans Malaysia.
Exactly.
Why? Why is that the case?
What I mentioned when I started, we haven't begun to penetrate the market because we haven't gotten the right partners yet to do so. But now, we're ready to do so.
All right. Because we do have those retail chains, exact retail chains here, like 7E, Lotus, Aeon.
Yeah, just different decision makers.
Exactly. All right. We can talk about this.
Yes, absolutely.
About this for sure. Okay.
I would like to add something because I agree with my colleague from Peru. What are the challenges? And I would like to add one more. When we overcome the lack of the information, when we raise awareness about the importance of the halal trade globally, we also face, or the company face, that adapting the establishment's line of production to obtain the halal certifications, it might turn expensive and in some cases technically challenging. That is something important to add, that we need to think together how we can help companies to overcome that.
Okay. I would like to share an example of Vietnam, for example. So Vietnam is an export surplus country, and they have gone really deep into the halal space. And for them, the way that they can overcome this is really to sort out government policies, a framework, a government-supported framework, in order for them to support the idea of in the halal sector. So perhaps my question is, what do you think, for example, from the host country side, in this case Argentina and Peru, what could they do in terms of policies to support the SMEs, to basically support them in terms of getting into the industry? Can you think of any policies or support measures that would help this?
One of the things we are going to be more active on from now on is in producing and providing more information about the opportunities it offers and how the small and medium Argentine companies can address those specific segment of the market. But we also see that we need to do more in challenging the companies to come to Malaysia and establish here and try to make joint ventures or a strategic partnership with local companies. This is another channel, another things that we need to do more to provide that options to our companies, I think. I don't know if you think the same.
I do, in fact, agree with you. But also, this is one of the reasons that we're looking to partner specifically with HDC, because we want to learn from both sides.
The pressure is on HDC now.
Yeah, from the opinion of those who do the day-to-day work, how a country can help their exporters and help their products obtain these types of certifications. So this is really a process where we can both learn from each other while we do it.
Okay, so I guess my question to Mr. Romzi, how can the private sector collaborate with governments and international organizations to create a conducive environment for halal trade?
Okay, of course, when you want to export out from your country, especially bearing the halal mark, because different country, the halal certification bodies is actually governed by, for example, like in Malaysia, the certification bodies is under the government purview. But when it comes to the respective country, it's under an association. Sometimes when it's under the association, the cost could be different as compared to how it's been done in Malaysia. Again, we were talking about how the certification body can sustain their operation. Because some countries, I heard that they may charge per SKU. That's going to be very expensive. But like in Malaysia, we based on per application. That makes a lot of difference. So, but I believe when it comes to respective country, the government support, that's also important. If they view that this halal is an economic contribution. Even in Malaysia also, if you look at the halal export data, majority are multinational companies. But small, medium enterprise, for example, how can we actually put in more effort and encourage them? But of course, a lot of people may view that the support in terms of financial from the government to the SMEs, but that's no longer a subject, because when we had this syndicate or workshop with the SMEs, some SMEs say that they have to also to be very independent. But how can we assure, because they are looking at in terms of their capacity, okay? When there is a demand, can they produce? Is it based on seasonal, or is it based on demand, or is it because they are participating at international expo, they have to produce? Because these are all the questions that comes into the when it comes to the SME development, for example. Yeah. But again, if we talk about the cooperation, again in Malaysia, we do have not only HTC as a government agency, we do have, for example, like Moderator that focus on the trade, and we have MIDA, for example, in terms of investment. But we also have the institutions like universities, even the corporate side. How can everybody actually put hands together to actually push this forward? Because when it comes to certification, entering into different markets, yes, this is something that I think all our exporters must understand the requirement. Because even though, for example, if you want to enter Malaysian market bearing the halal mark, it has to be recognized by our authority. So is that a challenge for you to have that halal mark? Of course, the next question to ask is whether is there any Islamic association established within back of the respective country. But if you do have, how can we actually develop and emerge it and becomes a partner to the authority in the respective country and back to the country that you want to export to. Of course, this trade facilitation is not like overnight. It can be resolved. Even when you want to be certified halal also, or you want to be recognized also, it takes time. But sometimes in the Malaysian environment also, if a company apply for certification, again, the completeness of the document, the understanding, that's important. Because if you feel that, oh, I just want to submit, this is my document, is that sufficient? Is that enough? Have you been attending a training to make yourself understand about the whole process? Again, those are the challenges. But of course, in Malaysia, it's voluntarily. It's not a compulsory. Yeah. But probably, if this is made compulsory, I think that's going to be even a longer process. Yeah. So I think what we can do from the Malaysia perspective is crossing the knowledge to each other and take it as a benefit on how we can actually create an ecosystem, yeah, for example, that support every part of the element that you have within your own country, and how can that actually contribute to trade in the future. Okay, that's a summary. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Romzi. You're talking about compulsory or not. I think in our neighbor Indonesia, they are trying to make halal certification a compulsory thing. I'm not sure how they're going to do it because it's a huge, huge endeavor. But yeah, we will be looking closely on this as well. Another development that might be something maybe of a positive thing for Latin America is the fact that our certification body here we are planning to have direct connection with foreign companies in terms of getting halal certification. So you don't have to go through the certification bodies. You can go straight to JAKIF in terms of applying for halal certification. So probably this will help in terms of the problem of the gap in terms of the payment per SKU and per application. There's a huge gap. So maybe this would be more sustainable for SMEs, for example, to be able to jump in the bandwagon. Just another question about exports. Just now you were mentioning about the presentation of exports. Do you know if there's any breakdown in terms of what percentage of these exports are coming from MNCs and those from SMEs? Is there any breakdown of this, or would that be just in general? Okay. Because I guess with the cost and all this, I guess MNCs would probably be more likely to be the dominant ones in terms of exports, right?
When you're talking about populace of exporters, the SMEs are the larger proportion, but the larger companies still tend to have a larger proportion of the overall volume of exports, at least for us.
It's just a thought about, sorry, how long do we have left? 15 minutes. Oh, okay, that's quite okay. So, so I guess the question is, has it all been perhaps a plan in the works in your countries? Because for the fact that export is growing in the ASEAN region for you, especially in the countries that you mentioned just now, Thailand, Singapore, and hopefully Malaysia as well. Perhaps the idea of nearshoring, establishing production bases in this region instead of exporting, is this something that is in the works or a plan?
In our experience, it's something that ends up happening regardless of what we do. We'll bring it if the commodity arrives in such volume that there is a sales that benefits a production process locally within the country that's receiving the product. They will almost always end up doing something like that. So, for example, we have superfood snacks. You would have a cereal bar that has quinoa, chia, and other products in it. We are already exporting these products individually to these markets. And as we start introducing the snacks will sell. At least I know of certain markets, well, they will definitely sell. But the issue is then you have the local market would eventually start creating that same product using our basic products.
Well, in our case, we try to learn from best practices of other companies from other countries do, and we try to pass the information on our companies. And we also are similar with the presentation of Uruguay. We are a country of 47 million of people that produce food for 400 million people. So we think we have a key role to play in food security in the world, especially with those countries that need to import food because they don't produce all the food. So that is where it takes into account the nearshoring. And as I said before, we need to do more, to be honest, to promote joint ventures, a specific strategic partnership between companies from Argentina, from Malaysia, bring the companies here, and the opposite also. And we are doing with some other countries in Middle East because they have approached to us and they say we are taking very serious steps because we need to secure more food from our growing population. And before coming here, I was studying all the halal market, and I saw is a potential market of 2 billion people. And it's an international market. It's not only that people that consumes halal are in Asia, Middle East, and Africa. Also, you have Muslim communities in Europe, North America, and Australia. And as I said before, it's not only the Muslim community consuming halal, it's also regular people because of the health. So yes, the nearshoring is something that is worth to explore.
Right. And it's also good for, I guess, people exchanges as well. You know, it's not just goods being exchanged, but also people coming in to understand the community as well. Okay, I guess with the remaining time that we have, perhaps we can take some questions from the floor. Anyone with questions, please put up your hand and we shall rush to you with the mic. Por favor. Oh, okay, that's two. Okay, one here. Oh, he didn't see you, sorry. You're next, don't worry.
Hello everyone, I'm Chimrong from Khmer Times, Cambodian reporter. Yes, and I saw your presentation a lot about agriculture, and you mentioned about Vietnam and Cambodia. In fact, we are trying to become a cashew emperor, and currently we export 95% to Vietnam, and they process it and they sell it to the world. So during this conference, we'll be talking a lot about connection between American, Latin country and Asian country, which is also Cambodia involved in there. So will there be any future of processing factory or any type of shop that can like process our cashew nut, Cambodian cashew nut, so that the value add on will be served for the local people and for those investors who come in who do that business also. Will there a future plan? Thank you.
Anyone wants to take that up?
Just to clarify the question, you want to know if for example, Cambodian cashews could go, in my case, to Peru and have a processing plant in Peru. Is that correct? Did I understand you correctly?
I'm not sure exactly about processing factory in Peru, but for now, 90% of our products are going to Vietnam, the raw material. And I just want to know if our meeting today will become like in the future, there will be some company investing in processing our cashew nut also, rather not just Vietnam, because when there is only one buyer, the price is up to them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a matter of one of the topics I mentioned in my presentation, access. It depends on what access Cambodia has to the international markets in order for you to be able to diversify where you are exporting. Because you're absolutely right, depending on only one country is extremely risky. And that's also one of the reasons when I mentioned the slide on Malaysia that we had a strong dominance in cacao beans. While the numbers are nice, it's something that we don't necessarily want to have such a dominance in one specific product. We want to be able to balance our product and balance our markets. So yeah, it really depends on Cambodia's access that they have to the international markets in order to be able to do that. In Latin America, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with what access you have to the different Latin American countries. I'm not sure.
Okay, we have time for one more question to the lady here. Okay.
Thank you very much. I was listening to some of the recommendations, particularly from our colleague from Argentina, that I believe are very useful. I'm pretty sure I saw Romzi taking notes to communicate those. But I have one feeling that for me it's important. There's an opportunity, a trade opportunity, particularly between Latin American countries and Malaysia in this case, because we are talking about Malaysia particularly today. But this opportunity is not without challenges. It's not only about awareness, it's not only about understanding who this CV, the certification body would be. It's only about understanding that from our side of the world, halal is not perceived the same way. The religious basis in our countries also we seek to explain to populations that are mostly Catholic, with small Muslim populations. So in a way, we have much to offer to Malaysia in terms of export, particularly talking about food. We are already working quite well with the Arab countries in the Gulf. So at some stage, we still need to wonder why we are not doing it so well with Malaysia. And what is it in the relationship that is creating a barrier instead of an opportunity? And in that regard, and Rosli knows that we've been discussing this for many months or a year, there is an opportunity to work with HTC, of course. But I think also at some stage in these kind of events in which we try to bridge the gaps between Latin America and ASEAN countries, we need to understand that we come from different realities. And although we respect and we recognize the importance of the certification by Japan, and we are many of us looking towards having it, in order to have a real opportunity of, for example, Malaysian consumers to have access to better and cheaper food from our countries, we need to find a way of expediting the process. We cannot have experiences of 5 to 6 years of waiting to get a certification for any particular product or to get the access for any particular product. So I think that's the main challenge. And we have to be very frank when we talk about it, otherwise we are hiding the problems and focusing on things that are not so problematic. So for me, and it's not news for my friends in HTC, the big challenge ahead of us, and something that even the Prime Minister of Malaysia has recognized in the past, we need to find ways of expediting the process for those of us that are willing to comply with the halal requisite in Malaysia from Jakim, but we want the chance to prove that our production is actually something that Malaysian consumers will benefit from. So that's my conclusion for today, and because Uruguay's experience lately has been mainly focusing in this task with the help of many friends here in Malaysia that have simplified our task. Thank you.
I mean, I guess rest assured, we are doubling down on halal in Malaysia for the past, in recent times. So rest assured there'll be good positive developments that's coming up from this place, especially on the time taken for certification. And I guess on the resources front, we will definitely be putting a lot of resources on this front. But perhaps, Mr. Romzi, do you have anything else to say?
Thank you, Her Excellency. Of course, that's what we get analysis they have to look into. Of course, we take all the feedbacks, but again, this is something that a challenge probably, that how we can actually keep on improving, especially when you have the international cooperation, for example. And I believe halal has becoming more in demand now, not only from a certain region, but I would say globally. So that's also a challenge that we need to really focus and identify. But how can we do it better? Yeah. Of course, when it comes to processes, again, some belongs to a different government agency. Some maybe can be tuned in terms of simplifying, but again, this is something that internally we have to work out within intergovernment agencies and see and identify the improvement part. Yeah? But again, we take your feedback definitely, and again, as you know aware of that, in Malaysia we have this halal industry master plan 2030, and one of the components that we have here is on the internationalization topic. Yeah? Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Okay, I guess that comes to the end of the session. I would like to thank the panelists for an amazing, exhilarating presentation. And please, I would invite you to give a round of applause to the panelists. And with that,